How do you know if you're a person that's operating in alignment or if you have to course correct yourself? It can be quite tough whenever you're going through your own self mastery journey to notice what is a problem and what is a promise. That is what I'm going to help you answer by the middle of this video. You're going to have 6 of the most important things that I've learned after investing tens of thousands into my own mindset mastery that I've learned from my mentor and their mentors before them. These are problems that matter for everybody, and for every problem, there is always a solution. People who are in alignment are not chasing balance, they're building order. What does that actually mean? They don't try to manage everything in their lives. They remove what doesn't belong there. This happens whenever you stop measuring how much you have to do and instead you start measuring what matters the most. People in the world and people in business are going to glorify multitasking with you. People all the time, they're going to say, oh, I'm balancing this, and this every single day. Isn't that amazing? No, that's not amazing, because if you can't master being present in the moment of the task at hand, that's where that phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, comes in. If you can't be present, you're going to get so lost in the process of what you're doing. You will get overwhelmed, your results will stagnate, and you'll wonder, oh, where did I go wrong? You go wrong right at the beginning by trying to do too much at once. So strip that all back. A famous quote by Marcus Aurelius is to limit yourself to the present. This is so important. And even my mentor, Kim, her mentor, Bob Proctor, I hear both of them say this all the time. Whatever it is that you keep thinking about, if it's in the past, it's going to cause depression, okay? Because you're suppressing the present moment. If you keep focusing too much on the future, you're going to cultivate anxiety because you don't know what the future holds, okay? And that is the reality. That's a beautiful thing though, and you want to lean on that. Yes, you don't know what the future holds, but limit yourself to this present moment and you will be fine. That is how you manage what needs to be done. People who truly operate with alignment understand that structure is not restriction. It's the rhythm of freedom. And structure is not the same as strategy. You can be aligned to the outcome of your strategy, but if you're aligned to the structure of your strategy, you'll fail. Okay? You need to know the difference between these things. It's such a fine tuning, but it's what's going to set you apart in the long run by a country mile. And you are going to get this for free. So stay locked in. This is going to set you apart from being someone trapped in the chaos to being able to build order. Step 1, everything stems from your identity, not your goal, not the conversations you have, and not the people in your network. Now, as impactful as each of those things are, they will not be worth shit if your relationship with yourself, first and foremost, is not spot on. You need to see and demand the best relationship you can with yourself. And that goes on behind closed doors. Your thoughts are so transparent through your results. Do not lie to yourself. Do not sit there and say, I have the best relationship with myself known to mankind. I love myself. I put myself first. I have self respect. I trust myself. See if your results don't reflect that, then there's something going on within your internal conversation and in your internal dialogue that needs to be course corrected. You cannot be in alignment if you yourself are not operating well with yourself. I had a conversation with one of the team members at Dynamite Lifestyle, Brian, and I was telling him I kept getting all these conflicting thoughts, like my intrusive thoughts were through the roof. I didn't know how to change it. And I said to Brian, I was like, what do you do with that? Like, for all the self mastery and all the mindset, my result isn't changing. And Brian turned around to me and he was like, yeah, because you identify as somebody who has intrusive thoughts. I was like, what? I didn't want to accept that as true. I looked at him and I was like, no way, no, I don't. Like, I see them happening, but I don't accept that. And he was like, well, you're telling me about it. So you obviously do. You identify with it. You just told me you're a person who has about 20 intrusive thoughts a day. And I was like, oh. So it might come as a surprise to you when you discover what you actually are identifying with, but you need to be open to that course correction. You need to be open to speaking with someone that is going to point out the obvious to you and ask yourself the valuable questions. You're not bound by the things that you identify with. You could identify as a 6-figure entrepreneur, or you could choose to identify as an 8-figure entrepreneur. You will achieve what you believe, and your identity is going to drive your results. I promise you that. Second step, do not confuse the seed time with the harvest. For you to build order in your life, you need to be able to look at everything around you and see the time where you're planting the seeds and then the time when you get to reap the harvest. There are always going to be peaks and troughs in your journey, but do not make a mockery out of yourself by hiding behind that as an excuse to not take action. You need to understand that the period of time where you're focusing on growth, creation, and refinement, that is not the time to start measuring your results. For instance, I'm not going to measure the growth of anything that I do with these videos until a certain date, when I'll then look back because I'm still refining them. I'm not going to sit and castrate myself over every single individual piece of content that I put out because that's not productive. That's not going to promote any kind of alignment to the outcome of my goal. What I need to do is I need to lock in, build, train myself, allow myself to be course corrected, and then continue going. You need to guard your focus so much. You need to guard your attention. Like Marcus Aurelius said, limit yourself to the present moment, but align yourself in the present moment with the outcome of the goal that you're working towards. Step 3. This is such an important one to pay attention to, especially if you're somebody who thinks creatively and has a very open mind. Okay? The world is not a mystery to be solved. You are. Stop looking outside of yourself. Stop watching the news. Stop going into these rabbit holes where, truth be told, you are just getting distracted. People get so pressed and so hot in their heads about all these world global issues, but you as one person, you're not going to change those things. What you can change is who you are. And if you do see something going on in the world and you really deeply feel connected to the issue of what's at hand, you need to look at yourself in your own life and go, okay, well, what part of that problem is resonating with how I view myself? Again, everything, all your results are driven from what you identify with. If you're seeing problems out in the world, what part of those problems is really getting to you? Are you seeing a lack of equality? Okay, so what parts of your life do you need to look at with a finer tooth comb? What parts of yourself are you not giving equal expression to? Do you have all these ideas, but then you never do anything with them? You never execute? That lack of execution is going to cripple and hurt your imagination. That's going to damage a part of yourself. There's going to be no equality within your higher mental faculties if that's how you operate. So maybe take a look at that. If you think that people aren't accepting other people in the world, you need to look at, are you accepting yourself? Or are you trying to run away from yourself and hide behind the problems of the world? I promise you, there is no problem out there in the world that you yourself have to go conquer. Everything comes down to who you are and what you need to conquer within yourself. That is such a more difficult task than saving the world. I'm just going to be brutally honest with you right now. You might have the most noble, pure intentions to save the world, but you're not going to do it by yourself. And you can't do it if you yourself are not at your best. When you think a gladiator, you don't think of some insecure, introverted captain. Okay, you think of Maximus. You think of someone who's forthright, strong, stands on their own moral compass, is unwavering in their discipline. That's who you think of when you think of the leader of an army. Okay, so you as a one-man band sitting there behind all your insecurities and all your hatred, how are you going to save the world if you can't even save yourself? Step 4. When you control your thinking, you will control your results. You literally cannot fake this. So don't waste your breath talking about your intentions and talking about all the noble virtues that you've got if you fail to act on them, okay? This is one of the most important parts of alignment. You cannot build order in your life if you cannot control your thinking. If you state an intention, if you say you're going to do something, you must back that with action. Okay? To control your thinking means that you control the distractions. You might wake up in the day and say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Then you sure as shit make sure you do X, Y, and Z. And do not let the things that pop up during the day, do not let the distractions and the texts and the calls, don't let that put you off guard. You have to be selfish and you have to prioritize yourself. Step 5, being able to navigate your emotions. Your emotions are the invisible presence that color the atmosphere of where you stand. And that bends the attention in rooms like gravity. And it does that without any effort on your behalf. Your emotional state and your energy is going to speak before you do. In order to build order in your life, you need to know the light and the dark within yourself. You need to be able to strike that beautiful point of self-awareness where you make a choice on how you're going to operate because you understand your capacity in all directions. Alignment is an emotional game, okay? It's energetic. There is nothing physical that is going to really measure how aligned you are more than the feeling that you embody and emulate in front of other people and within yourself in public or in private. Okay. I say this all the time. The most powerful person in any room is the person who has the power to harness their emotions. Your emotions are what create vibrancy. It's what makes you magnetic in front of other people. Your emotions are not something that you need to be sterile with and that you need to pretend you're this infertile fucking robot. Because you know what? See, even if you boil it down to that, just look at AI. Anytime you try to have a conversation with ChatGPT, what does it try to emulate first? Emotion. It tries to strike a balance with human nature. ChatGPT turned around to me one day and answered to like a really straightforward, logical question and said, "That's a really insightful question, Rachel, and I'd love to help you answer that because that shows me that you've actually approached this with warmth, empathy, and blah, blah, blah." And I looked at that and I was like, why is ChatGPT trying to have an emotional conversation with me right now? Because that is where your magnetism comes from. Your emotions are the most powerful part of you. I promise. You might not believe that. You might think, oh no, the workplace has no place for emotions. And yeah, you might be right. It's got no place for an outburst of emotion. But if you have emotion, let yourself be able to channel it, let yourself be able to harness it. And the more you do that, the more you will win in life. People want to be around people who are vibrant. And if you suppress all your emotions, I promise you're probably not a pleasant person to be around. And step 6. I heard a musician in Belfast say this and I thought it was hilarious. He's right though. If you're liked by everyone, you're a mong. Of course, not everybody is going to like you. Of course, not everybody's going to be about what you're about. That's fine. That's actually so expected. And in my own life, I actually encourage that because you're on a different path. It shouldn't make sense to other people. It should make sense to the people who are already successful in the field that you're going into. But see if somebody else has not got the same goal as you or they're not going in the same direction, I hope it doesn't make sense to them. Because if it does make sense to everybody and if everybody in your life is on board with the direction that you're going, you're probably being a people pleaser without realizing it. How can you show up authentically as yourself if you care more about the opinions of others than the opinion of yourself? You don't need to justify your journey to anybody else. No one. Not your team, not your friends, not your family. No one. Unless you all want the same results, you don't all need to understand what's going on. You can update people on your life. You need to know when you're casting your pearls before swine and when you're having an intelligent conversation that's collaborative towards where you want to go. If you get criticism, take it on the chin, grow a set, and commit yourself to your own journey. If you can't conquer the negative opinion of another person, you don't even deserve to achieve the goal you're going after. Nothing will bridge the gap between what you want and how you think faster than renouncing your reciprocity with the things you refuse to identify with. Write that down and remember always that your identity is what is driving your results. That is where your alignment comes from. That is how you build order. You need to master yourself. And that comes down to the media you consume, the ideas that you entertain, the conversations that you get involved with, the opinions that you choose to repress and express. Everything that you do is a demonstration of how much you have mastered yourself. It is a demonstration of how much you love yourself, how much you keep your promises to yourself, and how guarded your attention and focus is. It's like a game, okay? Be lighthearted with it. In every interaction, in every moment, in every decision where you have something to do, in that present moment, you look at your options and you think to yourself, what is the highest version of me doing? What is the version of me who has achieved the outcome of my goal? What choice do they make in this moment? And then you just live every single day in the present moment. You will see yourself skyrocket. You will notice your trust with yourself build. You will notice your results improve dramatically. Give it 90 days. You will not recognize yourself.